topic number one tonight is divestors in Africa. It seems to be the case that this is not just an American problem. So this came with a link. I'll share it with you guys. We'll watch it, and then we'll comment on it.
Active. She's about 30 years old, and she had.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Sorry about that.
She has a fiance in Germany, and he's going to come here, I think, in the next couple months. He's already processing her visa to come over to Germany, and they're going to get married. They talk every day on the phone. You know, they do the video, voice calls, and I'm clapping those cheeks so hard, bro.
Many black women are interested in dating outside of the race or outside of the community. They're open to dating white men. And some of the reasons, and not limited to, could be white men have more money, white men are more serious, white men are romantic, or black men are just tired and they're tired of dealing with the heartbreaks of dealing with black men. And that happens as much as you see it in America, but also in Africa. And that is really where you see white privilege come onto par. A lot of black women in Africa, African women, could really think that white men are the next best thing to Jesus Christ. And you see it. Like when you see African couples go outside, you don't really get to see them holding hands. But whenever you see a white man with a black woman, almost for certainly, they are holding hands and being very romantic. And she's happy as hell to be with him. Rewind, Nima. Just the other day, I happened to be at a restaurant. I won't call the restaurant's name. And I saw this like 80-year-old dude with this young, like 23-year-old chick. And she was just like so happy to be with him. I wonder why. Booty clapping sounds. But nevertheless, it happens. It happens a lot. But we always hear, you know, certain women talking about black men, you know, and dating black men and hating on black men, like this clip here.
Anybody who's watched me since I was 22 or 23, I'm sure you feel as old as I do right now. I feel old. Okay. Yeah, girl, in like 2 whole weeks, I'll be 1 year away from being 30. I cannot believe it. But that's not the point of the video, that I'm getting old. Let's talk about these dusty ass. Okay. So when I say dusty, I don't mean tax bracket. Okay. All black men are dusty. It does not matter their tax bracket.
But we never hear the other side of the story. Like, what do these white men think about dating black women? Now, this is interesting because typically it's not talked about because it's considered to be taboo or very offensive. But I came across this particular YouTuber because you guys sent me this particular video. And this is a guy that is currently living on the continent of Africa. Now, it's interesting. You know, he has a lot of content about all the chicks he deals with and stuff like that. But I want you to hear what he has to say in this clip.
Went on a date tonight. Well, let me be clear. I've never been on a real date here in East Africa where I meet a girl, wine her and dine her, pay for everything. Have never done that. Kind of dates I do are free dates. We'll meet at the beach, go on a walk, sit in the grass, go to a garden, something like that. I never spend money on women.
So that's interesting, right? The guy freely admits that he never pays for dates. This is the white man in Africa, okay? Now, you understand that a lot of black men in Africa complain about the fact that African women just want them for money, or black women want them for money. You know, if you don't have no money, don't talk to me. But when the white guy shows up, he has access to all the women that he would like without spending any money. I mean, we just heard it. He says he doesn't spend any money, and I can honestly believe that he doesn't spend any money. But then he wants to give a warning to Western people about dating, but most notably dating African women. And he's going to talk about a horror story about this African lady that he knows who is engaged to a German man. But boy, is this brutal. Check out this clip.
From the, okay, if we're talking about African women, Trust me, if she's talking to you, dude, she's talking to other guys too, other guys in Europe, America, Australia, wherever. And she's vetting to see which guy is going to give her the best opportunity, which guy is going to get the most emotionally invested online without having met her. And that's it. And she's going to choose the guy that is going to give her the most time online. And you don't know what she's doing over here in Africa. You don't know what she's doing. I hate to tell this story, but it's kind of the reality. So there's a girl in my village, very attractive, old, and she has a fiance in Germany, and he's going to come here, I think, in the next couple months. He's already processing her visa to come over to Germany, and they're going to get married. They talk every day on the phone. You know, they do the video calls, voice calls. And I'm clapping those cheeks so hard, bro. Like, if you just knew what your fiance was doing with me. Damn! If you just, if you, and this is so bad, but if you just knew the she is being while she's professing her love to you and looking forward to a life with you and to be your loyal wife. And I kind of don't doubt that once you guys are together, I don't doubt that she's going to be loyal to you. I think she will be a good wife, actually, once you're together. But that's what's going on. And, you know, I just met this girl. I was walking home one night down one of these dark dirt roads. I saw that amazing booty, and I just chatted her up, and we ended up going to we ended up kind of moving out of the footpath, and we made out for a little bit. And yeah, it was like the next time we met, we hooked up.
Well, first of all, what he's trying to insinuate is that a lot of ladies that he's coming across that want white men are not genuine in wanting white men. That's what he's pretty much saying. And living over on the continent, and I think there's probably true almost everywhere. Yeah, you know, this does seem to be the case in most third world countries, not just in Africa. But he's talking about how the lady is about to marry this other guy from Germany, and he's clapping the cheeks every day. Booty clapping sounds. He's like, yo, man, I'm clapping those cheeks so hard. You know, I saw her. She had a fat booty, met her walking down the street, and within the second time, I'm hitting it. But, you know, she's sitting there acting like she loves this white guy. And it's interesting because there'd be so many ladies who want to date a white man on the continent. And what this guy was telling white men, in his honest opinion, listen, bro, they don't love you. They don't care about you. You know, they're just trying to get you for your money, and that's it. Which I'm not saying it's always true, but it could be some truth to it. You know, he did talk about the fact that, listen, a lot of these ladies are looking for a good opportunity. They're looking for somebody to upgrade their life. And again, this is why a lot of white men who are woke, and if they're smart, they're going to be like, listen, let me get somebody from my culture. And I think that's what you typically see. I don't feel like white men don't find black women attractive, but I'll tell you why so many white men, in my honest opinion, don't marry or date black women. And that is because they don't really understand what's going on there. That's for the reason, right? They sort of know that, hey, I might be at a disadvantage culturally. So, you know, it might be easier for me to date somebody that's Asian or date somebody that is in the community and things like that. And they can trust it more. You know, I think that's pretty much probably what it is. A lot of white men maybe don't trust the fact that their relationships with black women can be like you could be with white women or whoever else. Not saying that they all the way don't, but if this white guy is feeling like this, I mean, it got to be others. There was a blog that I used to read, and it was by some guys that visit Africa. And I read that blog when I first came to Kampala. I forgot what it's called, but it had like all these cities about what you could expect. And this is not stereotyping, anything like that. But to be honest, a lot of that when I came to these cities, it was kind of on point. It's very few people that really deal with you and like you like that. And again, at the same time, these white men are people too. They're looking at value for their money and for their time. And what this guy is saying that, if you meet them on person, you don't know who the girl is talking to. You don't know what she's doing. And this guy don't even know. I'm clapping her cheeks every night, and he's about to spend all that money on her. It's sad, but it's true. Now, again, for these ladies out here talking about, we're going to leave you for white zaddy. Here's my concern. What if white zaddy don't trust you? Take it up. He can't marry you if he don't trust you, right? And that's something that a lot of folks don't understand. A man cannot truly marry a woman that he does not trust, whether he don't trust cultural differences or something like that. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of these ladies talking about they're going to go to white zaddy, and then white zaddy's going to just be silly and spend all this money on them. But they haven't even thought about, what does white zaddy need in a lady? What is he looking for? Like so many people with the Pan-African dating show that I operate, it's never been anybody that's white on the show, I don't think, right? But you will still get ladies talking about I want a white man. And I'm like, but you've never seen a white man on my show or a white woman. And you're just looking at a person because they have money or they have a different green card or they have, access to citizenship. But, do you care about that person? And I think that when a lot of black women look at white men, is it that you want a white man or do you really care about him and he happens to be white? Or are you looking at an opportunity? Guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode.
Oh, that's O'Shea. Yeah, I don't even know who these guys are like that. So in my head, in my brain, that was Dame Calloway speaking. But okay, O'Shea. That video was kind of interesting and not a good way. It sounded like he was trying to kind of like he was speaking to white men in a cautionary tone. It's weird. But let me start with the person who this is a favorite topic. Let me start with Oni. Oni, what say you to divestors in Africa? It seems to be the case that this is not just an American problem. What are your thoughts?
Passport bros, we up now. Wait, hold on a second. I didn't know that was O'Shea until he said at the end. That isn't he like one of those old school passport bros? But as far as what that white boy was saying, I know exactly what the white boy was saying. I know exactly what the white boy was saying. The white boy was not saying he's not spending money. He's saying he's not doing traditional dating. You don't have to. In Africa, you didn't have to do the whole wine and dine thing. Because the women want. Like, unfortunately, the women more or less, or most women, or not most women, but a lot of women would prefer direct cash. So in America, you don't do that direct cash stuff. You say, look, I'll buy you food, I'll pay for your Uber, I'll do, you do indirect cash. But the women in Africa are just like, I'd rather direct cash. So you don't have to, like you said, you can go to the beach and then that's it. But as far as, look, white people have divested that. White people have been the passport dudes. I'm not gonna say bros, but they've been the passport dudes. Like legit. Like white men and white women have been on that, And in fact, I remember the first time I talked about it, Koku was like, that's what white people do. You know what I'm saying? like we all know white people. Like, I don't know, but like, yeah, white people. And the thing is this too, that white people not just been doing that. They're not just doing it on passport. White people been like, unfortunately, that guy. They've been that guy where they've been getting black women, even when black women were in chains. And obviously that was less voluntarily on the black woman's part. Well, that's what we say, right? But realistically, yeah, even after that, you know, I think Coco pointed out the other day that Loving versus Virginia was a black woman trying to get with a white man. But like, yeah, I don't think it ever was just an American problem, because we know, based off of, especially in America, we know how the complexion ranges in America. But again, like, it's just common, like, it's common sense at this point. You know what he was saying about better opportunity. Women are looking for a good opportunity, and women are not. Some women are going to be choosy and political, but most women, or not even, I'm going to say most women, but some women aren't. And it's just like when it comes to like you looking for a job, right? You send your resume out to multiple corporations. Don't matter if that corporation had a history in this or a history in that. You looking for an opportunity to live a life, have a living standard that you want. Black women sitting around in a village. If you ever been to a village, you know damn well there's no economic mobility for women. The only economic mobility most women are going to have is her marrying somebody outside of the community. And if that's somebody outside the community, see, this is why we as black men got to go to Africa more often, because these women, a lot of women are looking to either marry, well, first off, they're probably going to marry somebody in their community. Real talk. Like 99%. Well, not 99, but, you know, real talk. But the women who are looking for economic mobility are going to try to see an opportunity in anybody who comes in front of them. Right? Anybody who arrives, anybody who checks out that booty, and all the other men are not looking for them. So if this white man's walking around the villages, of course, a woman's going to say, well, she could be that Garveyite somehow and be like, nah, I don't mess with no white boys. And there's a lot of them that might be like that. But the reality is, if you sitting around, you want economic mobility, you want to eat every day, you want to eat a 3-course meal every day, matter of fact, right? If you want to live that life, you got to see the next man coming. So I tell you, when I was in Africa, please, I tell you, this white woman, she looked like Lupita, but thick. And I mean, Lupita's already thick, but this woman looked like Lupita with a body, matter of fact, right? And Lupita already has a body. So I'm saying she looked like Lupita with a body, right? So anyway, my point is this woman standing outside the mall, she said, hey, what's up? Hollers at me. I didn't get the digits. And yeah, we meet up. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, of course, you know, you might be like, well, you know, she just wants your money, blah, blah. Yeah, anybody who's sane wants money from somebody else. You know, that's how you get money. You only get money from somebody else. You know, unless you printed it, you only get it from somebody else. So yeah, you know, I mean, look, I don't like a white boy doing this, but he's trying to tell you, peep game, go to Africa, get you one of the best women on the fucking planet. You understand? And I know he said, oh, well, she's talking to the other guy. Of course she is. You ain't married her yet. One of these women I was talking to, I'll just say, I'll finish with this. One of these women I was talking to, no, I wasn't talking to. She was like, she looked good. So I was like, what about you and I? She's like, no, I got this husband. I got this, you know, fiance in America, right? Fast forward, I tell her, hey, you ever go to America? No, we broke up. So you could easily have a fiance. You could easily, but until he puts a ring on it, until he's with you, until he really truly invests in you, you gotta entertain your options. Because anybody could call it off. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thanks for that, Oni. I will say this. That last part you said sounds like the stuff that women talk about. Listen, man. I hear the white boy, and it's one of the things I never liked about the passport bros type thing, because that bragging thing of how easy it is wherever they go. But he's talking about something. He mentioned something, and you just added to it, of the woman has a man already, but she's not being faithful to the dude. And that's a problem too. And I'm not even finding that problematic on some moral level or anything. I just find that problematic just socially in our communities. Like, you can't even trust your woman. If I leave from here, from stateside, or if I leave from Nassau and I go somewhere, that means I can't even trust my woman, right? That means I can't even trust my woman to be true, to be faithful, to be focused, right? That stuff is problematic to me too. All that is problematic to me too. Black Seal, what say you to this?
So this is an example of what is called racial hypergamy, right? So shout out to brother Green Gorilla. He's a doctor, Dr. G with a PhD. Hypergamy is a term meaning the action of marrying or forming a sexual relationship with a person of superior sociological or educational background. So we have to understand we're in a system of a global white domination in which white people have dominated the world and subjected the world to their ideologies. So unfortunately, many African people, not just African, but many people who have been subjugated under white domination have internalized the ideologies of that domination. So when you see a situation like this, where you have these black women who put white men on a pedestal, it's not just because that they have more money. It's simply because of their whiteness. Because their whiteness is that trump card. You could put a black man with the same level of education, the same level of finance, and they're going to pick that white dude every time. Because in their mind, whiteness carries a certain standard, a certain boost, so to speak, if you would. So I'll give you an example. Um, I'm an avowed comic book nerd. Sometimes me and my son, we go to the comic book convention. Every sister you see in there is with some nerdy white boy. Every one of them. Are there any black people who don't like comic books? No, of course not. But these women are with white men. You'd be hard pressed to see a black man and a black woman together. Another example: the highest rate of interracial marriage in the United States comes from Asian women, right? But Asian men are the highest earning men by far. So even though Asian men earn more money than the white men on average, Asian women marry outside their race more than any group, because it's not about the money; it's about the social status that whiteness brings. So we really, we talk about how, back in the day they did the doll test with the black children, showing how black children internalized negative views about black people, and then they pass some views on to themselves. But we never really looked at how this ideas really affect our mating and dating choices, especially when it comes to black women. So many of them, they see this whiteness, they see these white men being able to have money and go places. A black man could have the same level, but again, it's that whiteness that carries with it something. Um, I think that we really don't give this the attention that it deserves, because they like to pass, oh, he has money, or the white man treats us better. No, 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 no. There's plenty of women coming up missing. They find a skeleton somewhere in the desert because she's been dealing with white men. So it's not just about them having more resources, and they have more resources as a result of their psychosis. They're the way they dominate, murder, rape, pillage across the planet. White people don't have money because they're just astute businessmen, but because they're psychopaths, and they were able to pillage the world. Um, but that's how it's just an example of racial hypergamy, and it's not an American problem, because white global domination is not an American problem. So especially these women who don't grow up or live around white people, they see the images of white people on TV, and through you know propaganda and everything that's shown. Oh, these white men, they treat their women so wonderfully. They live in these beautiful houses, and I don't see these black men doing it. And they're not really concerned as to why it's like that. So they desire to have access and status to the spoils of white supremacy, that white supremacy brings in this system. So that's why. So I'm not surprised. These white men can go overseas and you know have their way with women of all different cultures, because they have that whiteness card. That whiteness. Until we really challenge these ideas, you're going to see this, and it's not a majority. It's probably a small fraction. I think most black women are end up with black men and vice versa. But I do think we understand it from a psychological standpoint, it makes sense because all women desire to be with that higher status male. But when you add in the racial element, it makes it more understandable. And that one girl who was talking about all black men are dusty, that lady is mentally ill. So she said it her. I've seen O'Shea before. She's admitted she deals with bipolar disorder. That lady is batshit crazy. Um, I feel that her supporters, instead of hyping her up, get that lady some help because she's gonna kill herself one day. But I'll go ahead and I'll leave it there. Thanks, Coco.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Let me read a couple of comments. Bakari's out in the chat. He said, them white folks tricking just black men that go overseas. Them white folks tricking, I guess, just like black men that go overseas. Let me go through some comments before I get to Buana. Just hang tight for me. Jose said he's of a Nigerian hip hop housewife show, but the husbands were old rich white men. KW Don 7, shout out to KW Don 7. He says, my idea of black female race loyalty has changed due to social media in the last couple years. Black women are race loyal due to lack of options. When I said that a couple months ago, folks thought I was lying on black women. But
yeah, I said that too. I remember people was coming for me. I said that too, and that's totally true.
Yep. Yeah, it was me and you said it. Jose said he was sick. Oni says in the chat, the white boy spends his money. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says a white man in Kenya went to Africa with AIDS and slept with many women, and another white man from France was running through like 5 West African countries. All those women are pregnant, I think. I guess that's all the comment. No, I'm lying. Jose said, this is a good point here. Jose said, what's going on? Everything depends on how you conduct yourself. B, go to Muslim countries / avoid Christian African women. I think Oni actually agreed with that. Jose said that those women only African conferences always have a handful of white husbands dragged along. It's a badge of honor. I mean, it's a badge of horror. I mean, honor. Oni in the chat said, yeah, the woman I'm wifing is Muslim. Say what you will, the Muslim women, just like in America, usually have a better conduct and sense of family than the Christian women. Marcus Garvey is the way showed up in the chat saying good night. Hopefully she'll join us tonight as well. So I appreciate you all for being here tonight. Buana, you heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you?
The first thing I would say is be very careful where you get your sources of information from. And the reason why I say that is I believe Mr. Jackson, Mr. O'Shea Jackson, he labels himself as a Pan-African. But really, when you go beneath the covers, I put him in the category of a field squad. These guys are FDA people, and FDA people are white nationalists and blackface. And the question I would have for O'Shea is, why are you concerned about this white person being taken advantage of financially, this white man being taken advantage of financially by a black female? If she find a space to get food, let her. You know what I mean? She trying to take advantage of the situation. Why are you so concerned about him being taken advantage of financially? Are you speaking for him? Why are you so worried about his wallet? I don't know. You know, another thing too is when he says what he says, he tries to impugn the character of African women because they're in a financially fragile situation. So they're gonna reach out to anyone, not just white men. Not just a Chinese man go in a economically deprived area, and the women will reach out towards him. A black man with means going to economically deprived area, they would reach out to him. But he flips it and he makes it seem like, oh, it's just African women jumping all over white men. Black African women jumping all over white men. Let me tell you something, Mr. Jackson. I live in a country called the Caribbean. I live in the Bahamas. And in the Bahamas, you have millions of white American women and men come here every year. And let me tell you something. It ain't just the men who going looking for females. It's also many women, many white women from where you live coming to these countries to get slutted out by the local population here. And I'm gonna tell you something too. A lot of their husbands' money, like this guy here who talking right now, his wife will send hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Caribbean to make sure the these what you all calling dusties live good in the Caribbean. And it happens year after. They spend millions of dollars. Many of these women, you want to talk about divesting? White women divest all the time. All they want is a black child these days. They run to the Caribbean to get slutted out by some guy on the side of the road and shit like that who no one pays attention to in the Caribbean all the time. All the time. He'll be living in high rises. And some of these people are the top people in your countries. They lawyers, they doctors, they medical professions, they scientists. All of these white women come here to the Caribbean and get slutted out, and they send millions of dollars to the Caribbean to take care of these so-called dusties. What do you say to that? If you're talking about divesting, it works both ways. Why you seek to demean black women, but you don't seek to demean the white women in your country? Because they do it all the time. So should we be careful? Should black men be careful of white women coming here to exploit them sexually, to take their seed back to the United States, to say, well, this is my black baby? I think that sometimes we perceive things to certain spectacles, but we really don't see perceive things through spectacles of our own glasses. You know what I mean, you so concerned about this man's wallet, can be concerned about your own wallet and your own people, because that works in reverse. Women do it. White women have been doing it all the time, and not only white women. I could go further. I just could stop there. When you are impugned the character of black women, and particularly on the continent, impugn the character of the women from your own country, white women from your own country too, brother. Don't just stop at the black women, because this whole uh, third willism that you're all pushing, as if people from other cultures, unlike your own, are different, which is code word for lesser. I'm saying y'all are engaged in the same kinds. Y'all women in y'all culture are engaged in the same kinds of behavior as well. What do you say to that? Because your white men in your society are divesting too, away from their white men. No discussion on that. But I'll leave it there, man. I'll leave it there.
That's a very good point, Juana.
Go ahead, Black Steel. Go ahead.
That's a very good point. So in the United States, especially in the Western world, we see these declining birth rates amongst European nations, birth rates that are below replacement level. So this idea of divestment, it doesn't just include Black people. White women are also divesting from white men, which is part of the reason why they've passed so many of these anti-abortion laws, because white women are not giving birth to enough white children to keep the birth rate up. And many of these white women have not so much, many of the complaints they have about their white men, about how they treat them. And that's another thing about divestment. We don't hear what the white woman saying. These white women raised these white men and grew up with these white men as their brothers or their sons, and the treatment they receive from these white men. They don't really talk about that. But I think it's very important that we understand that these white women are divesting their damn self because they don't want to be involved with black men. It's not just a black person problem. It's really an issue, but they're divesting for different reasons. White women fought to have access to the spoils of empire that they stole from the rest of the world. And now, for some reason, they want to be exempt from the consequences. But I just think it's interesting that you brought that up, because it's not a idea of not just black men not stepping up. Again, Asian men make more money than white men do, but yet Asian women marry outside their race hardly anybody. So again, it's not but what the men are doing, it's what the women perceive to be the men of higher status. Black people aren't exempt from that.
Let's welcome in. Thank you for that, Black Steel. Let's welcome in Brother Bakari this week. Brother Bakari, how are you? Unmute your mic, brother.
Yeah, I do.
All right, what's
Oh, what's up? Hey, look. Thank you for letting me speak. I ain't gonna be on here long. What's going on, my man? Hey, look. I know y'all probably ain't gonna like what I say, and that's all right. But the same men that people on the panel say they can't do nothing with, they can out thank you. Don't care what you do, they gonna whoop your ass. But then we look out to project and wonder why. I don't agree with black women dating those men, but goddamn, don't you think that maybe black men need to start seeing themselves different as well? Talking what we can do instead of always talking about what we can't. See, my thing is, one of my sayings, powerful people do, powerless people complain. Powerful do, the powerless complain. And, and the people who ain't searching for power, looking for the weakest of their so we done found the opposite sex, the black woman, is saying the black woman is at fault. Ain't no race loyalty amongst the black woman. Is it any race loyalty amongst the black men? When we always talk about what we can't do when it comes to the white man. So if a black man kneeling to that same damn cracker, what make you think your woman ain't gonna kneel to her? I'm just saying, it might not make sense to y'all, but it makes sense to me. The same cracker that the black men fucking kneel to, pardon my French, is the same cracker that the black woman kneeling to. But we want to look and point finger instead of saying, maybe we need to do something different. Maybe we do need to think of a scenario where we can win. But how? Well, though they outthink us. Well, you know they cheat, they don't play fair. Okay, where the world ain't fair. Well, they gonna do this to us and they gonna do that to you. So when your woman constantly hear you saying that, when your woman constantly hearing you saying it, why would that woman want to be with that man? I'm just saying. When you scared of another man, if you can't do nothing with that man, she can't do nothing with that man. So I don't agree with them. I don't agree with a black woman dating nobody but a black man. But if the black man can't do nothing with it, if the black man can't do nothing with it, she can't do nothing with it. So her next objection, so the next thing for her to do is, just like when the lion come take over the damn pride. Damn, they just ran off our man. So the only thing I'm gonna do is give him some coochie so I can live. I'm just saying, that's just how I see it. And I know my thoughts on that don't set the same as other folks. But I'm just saying, because it seems like every week we looking for a reason to point the finger at the black woman to say what they're doing, but don't want to look in the mirror and say what we're doing or what we are not doing.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Two things. 2024 is gonna be a different scenario with these projects that I do. Let me just put that out there first. Second, I made this statement a couple weeks ago about how in consciousness it seems like black men really hate other black men. Listen, man, the gains, whatever gains we've gotten, as little as some might want to view it, black men were heavily responsible for that stuff, man. MLK got his brains blown out, man. Malcolm X got his brains blown out, and countless others, right? Men who were killed trying to do something. My take on it is this. We ain't the only ones who are underneath this white boy's knee right now. We're not the only ones. Others are allowed a pass from them to be able to operate. And if you look at some of these other groups of men who are completely, like the Native American man is completely fucked up. Alcoholic, all this kind of stuff. It's a wonder more black men aren't strung out on drugs. Black people aren't just strung out on drugs and fucked up. Right? But we fight. We still fight. Even those of us here are doing our parts to push back, to figure out how we can get to power. My thing is, if any of your men as a race is pushing back, then the race's women should support them. This idea that because we haven't figured out how to get this motherfucker off our neck, that our women could be complete fucking sellouts, right, is not a cool thing, man. Like, what are you all? Like, I grew up learning that women are the first teachers, mothers, and what are the first teachers? What are you teaching these black youths who are coming up? What part are you playing in this thing? So while I have to fight against this man, I have to worry about you might be fucking him too. Come on, man. We've had this problem since the day Carlos Cooks talked about this stuff from like 100 years ago. Like, what is this shit, man? I'm not saying that black men are completely righteous. No, we fucked up too. And the problem of it is, when you have the few conscious men out here who are trying to develop something, trying to create something, trying to push forward, you can't even do that as a conscious person with the peace of mind that your woman is that your women are fully in support of you. We just talked about it the other day, and every time we talk about these things, and it's not picking on black women, by the way, it's shaming certain behaviors. Is black men have to be shamed too? The black men who pouring up bottles in the club, we talked about that before, that has to be shamed too. Black men who sleep with white women, that has to be shamed too. Black women sleep, that has to be shamed too. And also, there's the history of what these white men have done to black women throughout slavery and colonization. You guys forgot about that shit? Y'all forgot about when the mobs used to pull y'all out and cut the babies out, y'all, and let the baby fall to the ground and stomp them out. Y'all forgot about that shit? Y'all forgot about that shit? So that's all I'm saying when it comes to this topic. Like, we could talk about the black woman as God. I have no problems with that. But when you ain't doing the God-like shit, you gonna get shamed for that. You gonna get shamed for it. I don't give a fuck who don't like it either. You gonna get shamed for that shit. It's enough with this now. It's enough with this now. You talk to men in country. I used to be around this organization a couple of years ago. And it's one of the saddest things I think back on that. You look at the black men who will come and participate in those organizations, can't even meet a conscious black woman in those organizations or wherever. A bunch of sad-ass men who are thinking about the future of their people, but they cannot even get a girlfriend or a spouse or whatever out of those situations. Come on, man. What are we doing out here? So shame is a good thing. We will shame men, we will shame women too. And you know who else will get some shame too? Some of our children will get shamed too. You know why? All hands on fucking deck now. All hands on deck. How you gonna sit up and this white boy could brag about how hard he clapping your cheeks when you supposedly have a man somewhere? What the fuck is that? And some of y'all are too sensitive about this shit too. Shame is fine. It's a good thing. I grew up in a place where shame was a standard. Buana's in the place right now. When I was growing up home, shame was a good thing. It kept some shit in check. You understand? And this idea that because black men haven't solved the problem, that the women mustn't have no loyalty. Well, what the fuck then are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to solve the problem when when the women that we admire, the women that we supposed to trust more than anyone else, we can't even trust these motherfuckers? We got to bring back shame. And it's just as simple as that. So expect more of it in 2024. I don't care who don't like this shit.
So we're going to do shame.
Koku, hold on, Fakari. Hold on, Fakari. Koku.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Hold on.
I'm going to get off the panel. I'm going to say this and get off.
Please, thank God.
You know how many black men, it was black men that tried to check me for me telling that white police I'll shoot him in his fucking eyes for cussing my daughter out. It was black men. One of them on the panel now. My brother, it was black men. It was black women that stood with me when I went to check that white boy. It was black men talking about your daughter gonna need you.
Just they weak
she gonna need you. They can treat your children like shit. It was the black men that was scared. It wasn't the black women, it was the fucking black men. So my point is, I don't agree with no black woman dating no white man. My point that I made was the same people that the black men kneel to say they can't do nothing with. Even in a hypothetical scenario, they thought of every way what white people just gonna whoop your ass and what the white man is gonna do. If the black woman hear the black man talking like that, what is she supposed to do? I don't agree with her dating no white man, but when are we gonna check black men for like, damn, we can't even think of a way, no situation where we can win?
You know, Bakari, glad you brought that up.
So before you start, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so listen. So that great white man Karl Marx said that shame was a revolutionary emotion, right? So it's a form of anger turned inwards, and that it can affect real change. So shame is very important in affecting change in a society, because you have to feel like you did something. I'm joking. But anyways, I just wanted to say before you start. Yeah, this whole idea, black people have always challenged. We've actually been some of the only ones to really challenge the system of white global domination, because truth be told, most other groups have tried to navigate and be accepted within white domination. We have been the only ones who even fought in slavery, who fought to liberate not just ourselves, but other people as well. So again, I'm not going to sit up here and give these divestors, these psychopathic broads, any type of mercy. It doesn't matter, because again, whiteness is the standard. If black people were to liberate themselves tomorrow, they're still going to find some white man's nuts to hug up under, because they want to be white, period.
I want to say something. Can I say something? I was holding my hand up. Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So there was a brother who shot 5 police officers in Texas, right? Shot 5 police officers, and he ended up dying because he went to bang it out with the police department because of the past crimes committed against his people. That was his justification for going arm to arm with the police officers. And there was another, I forget his name now. Koku knows what his name is, only probably would know his name. There was another black guy, Cosmo something. I think he was in Louisiana or another state. Gavin something, I can't remember. He went and he shot like a few police officers and ended up dying in that altercation, right? Because he felt aggrieved in terms of the policeman who had killed a young black person, unarmed young black person. He felt aggrieved by it, and he killed several different police officers. So these young men are dead. Okay, so I'm asking that same community who is calling for justice in that way, do they contribute to the families of the men who would have given up their lives for some justice that they wanted to mete out against the police department? Do they continuously give, if they had children, do they contribute to the children? Do they contribute to the family? When their mothers get older, do they ensure that the old women are eating food and are taken care of properly? Because the young men are dead now. So that same community who is calling for armed justice and armed struggle or whatever, do they contribute to the families who have to be left behind? Because the brothers call it fair. I am asking, will they get and receive the support after you go through the so-called armed struggle? After you go through to the armed struggle, are the families, are the kids, are the children are going to receive the support from the community after you do what you feel that is needed to be done? And even when you do that, Are the people going to follow you in the pursuit of this justice in terms of armed struggle? I don't know. I don't know. But here's what I have done. I may not necessarily go with the. I understand the position where you want to respect black women and things of that nature or whatever. But I want to. I am an adult, and as an adult, I am a responsible person. And a woman is not a child. A woman went through the processes of childhood, and then they turn into adult. Just as I am to be held into account of my personal decisions and actions as an adult person, I expect a woman to be held into account for her adult actions. If I consider them to be ridiculous, if I come to her whether privately or publicly and want to critique and we can have a discussion on it, I'm not lambasting her. I figure some of the things that female is doing is wrong, and I should have the ability to do that. In the same vein, I would do that to a male person too if I consider them their actions to be wrong. How in like I say, man, I don't like to get into a war or back and forth. I think there is another way. If there is another way, why not try another way before you push the button on life? Because life is final, and do it in a way where even after you don't do it, there are things that need to be done in the end, at the end of the day, at the back end of the day. Certain things need to be sorted out. You have to. I don't know. I just look at the picture a little bit differently. People could call it. You could call it fair all you want to. You gotta really know. Call it whatever you want to call it. I ain't worried about it. I just see it a different way. But I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, just to be clear, there's such a thing called tough love, man. And you can love and exalt black women. I know I do. But that doesn't make you exempt. And one of the problems I'm seeing in the conscious circles is that black women are largely left exempt from any responsibilities in this situation we're in. The white man didn't just conquer folks by themselves. Their woman played a part in that too. She was the fucker who was teaching the babies how to become conquerors too. When are our women going to sit down and teach our babies, right? While we try to figure out how to fucking get this shit up off of us. When is our counterpart, our woman, going to sit down and say, you know what, this what we going to do over. Y'all figure that shit out. In the meantime, this what we going to do here to get this right. As opposed to thinking, you know what, since y'all can't figure out that white man, since y'all can't beat him, I go join him. Come on, man. Come on, man. We can't let that slide. We can't let that slide. All because we trying to battle it out, and because we ain't win it, because we ain't won, because we ain't turned the tables, y'all could go do whatever. Nah. In fact, I find that to be weak. I find that to be weak to even think or suggest that type of shit. Nah. We're not doing that. We don't call that out. We have a job to do. A lot of us as men have fumbled, which makes it harder on the very few of us who can call ourselves, I guess you could call ourselves conscious. That's a fact. That's a fact. A lot of us have fumbled. But you know something too? And I thought about it. I thought about it this week, man. On a real serious one, I'm not blaming women in this regard, but I'll say this. A lot of the dusty behaviors of men out here, black men, if they had a problem laying up with black women while being dusty, in other words, if black women had put their foot down and say, you know what, man, you can't come around me talking about you running down ops all day. And that low vibrational behavior a lot of black men have. You can't come around me with that. If you don't come around, you have to come around me talking that you're a part of an organization, you're doing this, that, and the other. Trust me, we'll fix this problem sooner rather than later. Does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt? Okay.
I was gonna say, I think that, well, I want to say one thing is that I think that a lot of what we're talking about seems to apply to American women, but this guy was talking about women in Africa. So I don't really know if if that same if like the men are weak there or something. But I can say this though, that I just saw this video, Thailand, like some Chinese person was putting up this video of how the Thailand women dance versus how the Chinese women dance. And the Thailand women are dancing like, well, the Chinese women are dancing like Chinese women, right? And the Thailand women are dancing like, twerking and shit. You know what I mean? And then I'm also reminded of the Philippines, which was like where once upon a time people heard about like passport shit. Way back we heard about Bangkok, that kind of stuff. Why I'm saying this is to say that it's a global phenomenon, whether we like it or not. I don't necessarily want to. I don't want to go into the narrative of blaming black men. And I don't want to get in the narrative of blaming black women. Right? It's unfortunately, and I'll put it this way. In fact, unfortunately, when two people, let's say everybody's a human, let's just pretend, right? But when two people are in proximity, they might develop an attraction for each other, right? Now, if you are equipped with an ideology, you might not, right? And one of the things you got to give white people props for is that they were equipped with a really strong ideology where they really just hate black folk, or they outwardly hate black folk or hate empowering black folk. They will, they sleep with black people, and they do, but they will not, they'll try to avoid enriching them, right? And unfortunately for us, a lot of us really do believe in enriching white folk, and that's really like, one of the problems. But what I'm saying is, yeah, this is a global phenomenon. I don't think it's limited to us, and I think that but I would say that the way that we would solve it really is if we as a people, and unfortunately, this would be the men, obviously, but we as a people got together and built some real strong communities. Now, you're not going to fix the unfaithful woman problem because, unfortunately, uh, it depends on, again, like you have to have a good ideology, but most people are not going to be faithful. Most people are looking for, day-to-day living. A lot of people are not necessarily like for some reason, like Muslim people have that consciousness where they try to actually be faithful. The women try to be faithful. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that we as a people have to really build up communities and of course come around with a solid ideology. So for my part, what I do is obviously write, and I'm trying to write on, solid ideology. But outside of that, yeah, you got to go into a community and you got to build. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing that. And your people are going to suffer for it. That's it.
Appreciate that. In the chat, KW7 said we have not examined the psychological impact that the white hegemonic system has done to the minds of black women. That's a good point. Instead, what we do is I don't mind it to a certain extent, but instead we beat up on men because we haven't figured out this shit that even Bakari admitted to when he was talking about like the wealth disparity. These guys are hundreds of years ahead of you. So the fix ain't gonna be simple. And because it ain't gonna be a simple fix, we don't need the added distraction that our women are just gonna say, hey, well, fuck them. Let me go lay up under the white man.
I want to make a statement.
1 second. Trigger 262 says, yeah, we have fallen from grace. Many historical accounts mention that we were definitely not attracted to white folks, so we can get back to that. He says proximity and ideology would pretty much make it clear that Africans in America swirl more. Buana, go ahead.
Yeah, so Afro Native made a statement in terms of colonial tourism in the Caribbean countries. That is a fact. Colonial tourism exists. And he made a reference to a movie, Rent a Rasta, where Rastafarians were dating a bunch of tourists coming from the island. The funny thing about that is how we perceive exploitation, because we only perceive exploitation in one way. They don't say that that the They say that the tourist is exploiting the local population, but they don't stop to think that maybe the local population is exploiting the white women tourists who come in to have relationships with them. Exploitation happens both ways, not just one way, but how we perceive things is like we are always on a defensive. It's like the brothers them can't never collude, they can't never agree, they can't never form their own um, offense in trying to manipulate the situation where it turns out financially in their favor. It's only exploitation, exploitation, exploitation from one way. But that it don't always work that way. I already know many brothers down here who exploit women all the time for their financial resources and move on to the next, and the next, and the next. And by the end of it, some of them end up being millionaires. Exploitation happens two ways, not just one way. But just consider that in the conversations when you have them, But I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there.
My only issue with that is the imagery comes across like there's these renter dreads in the Caribbean who just loving up on white women, and then guys, I saw that renter dread film too. You see some youth who come on board too, trying to get in on the game too. My only thing is about the looks of that. It doesn't look good.
No, Koku, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but just consider when Columbus them came here, what they did was the same exploitation, but the difference is the storyteller. The storyteller has him as an explorer, as an adventurer, someone to bring civilization. When in fact, the how the local population look at it, they look at it completely different. So it's just really based on who telling the story, who is telling the story, and the story. When people tell the story, people are going to see it in a particular way. So I say we must tell our own stories. We must tell our own story. This is the importance of social media, because social media has the regular person, the rank and file person, the person on the ground telling a different narrative from the so-called other narratives that's being wielded. We ain't wielded, but it's ugly. I understand. Nobody want to. It's a sex trade, and nobody want to see that or perceive that as a moral thing. But I'm saying how civilizations are built, formed, and created ain't always in a lovely way. I'm just saying. I'm gonna just put that out there. But I'll leave it there.
All right, we'll leave that one there for now. Let's go to shoot the race topic number 2 for time's sake too.